The Pet Sematary remake was just released a few weeks ago, and I finally got a chance to see it. YouTube has been flooded with reviews, and all the great horror channels have already posted their thoughts on the new movie. So yeah, I'm a little late to the party. What can you do? Let me start by saying that I love the 1989 original film. It's an excellent movie that still holds up today. I'm not immediately opposed to remakes. I do get frustrated by them sometimes, though. And I suppose it does depend on the subject matter as well. For example, it's easier for me to be open to a Pet Sematary remake than a Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween remake. But when done properly, a remake can be a good thing. So where does the new Pet Sematary fall? Well, I'm gonna discuss some spoilers, so be warned. The plot follows the original movie pretty closely, with a few deviations along the way. The Creed family relocates to a small town in Maine and discovers a creepy old pet cemetery on their property. The neighbor, Judd, befriends Lewis and his family and fills them in on the history of the area. When the family cat, Church, is killed on the busy road in front of their house, Judd takes Lewis to bury the cat in the land beyond the pet cemetery. Church returns from the grave, but he comes back bad. When the little girl Ellie is hit by a truck, Lewis buries her on the cursed land. She also comes back, and things don't go well for the rest of the Creed family. So what's good about the film? Well, it's well directed by Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer. The entire cast does a great job, right down to Church the cat. Here's a picture of him at the Hollywood premiere. Look at his little tie. I liked the plot change of Ellie being hit by a truck instead of the toddler, Gage, like in the original film. This changed things up a bit and allowed for some interesting scenes with the evil child, but it is a shame that this plot point was spoiled in the trailer. I liked the explanation of why Judd took Lewis to the pet cemetery in the first place. In the original movie, Judd takes him there even though he knows it's an evil place, but he then immediately regrets it. In the remake, Judd explains that the cursed ground influences you. It feeds off your grief and calls to you. I love that explanation, as it was always something that kind of bugged me in the original film. I also liked how there was a bit more on the backstory of the cursed land and the talk of the Wendigo, a beast that roams the woods at night. The Wendigo is hinted at in the original film during one brief scene, but it's never directly mentioned. There's a few scenes that use your knowledge of the original movie to throw you off, like the scene where Judd is killed. It was a nice touch that made things less predictable for those that have seen the original movie. The climax was pretty suspenseful and exciting, and the musical score by Christopher Young was great. So what about the problems? Well, you've probably noticed me comparing the remake to the original quite a bit. The reason is simple. This movie is very similar to the original, right down to dialogue and entire scenes. As I said, I love the 1989 film, and it really is a true horror classic. I haven't read the original Stephen King novel, but King himself wrote the screenplay for the original movie, so I'd imagine it's pretty close to the book. The remake is at its best when it's different from the original film. There's differences to be sure, but I wish there had been more. The same scenes and dialogue inevitably made me think of the first movie, and maybe it's just nostalgia on my part, but the original is almost always gonna win for me. I also felt the 1989 film was scarier than the remake. Don't get me wrong, the remake had some great suspense and scares, but the original was overall creepier, I think. A great example is the deformed sister Zelda. The remake gave it a good try, but the original Zelda was far more terrifying. I also felt the characters were a bit more likable in the original film, especially Judd and Rachel. The friendship between Judd and the Creed family was also stronger in the original movie and not as fleshed out in the remake. The ending was a bit of a letdown for me. This one ends with Ellie, Lewis, and Rachel all coming back from the dead. The toddler, Gage, is locked in the car as the evil zombie family unlocks the door to get him. The original movie ended on a bleak note as well, but I don't know. This ending just didn't really do it for me. I read that there were 2 other endings filmed, so maybe one of the others would have been better. It's not a terrible ending, it just didn't blow me away, I guess. But in the end, I did enjoy the Pet Sematary remake. I just wish it had been a little more different than the original movie. But it's still a solid horror flick with some great visuals and great performances. It's definitely worth watching, and I will purchase it when it comes to Blu-ray. But I gotta say, I think the original movie is superior. So which version did you like better, the original or the remake? Let me know in the comments.